Welcome to Uncomfortable, conversations about culture and Christianity. My name is Eric, and today I am joined by Rachel.
Hey, everyone.
And Mackenzie.
Hello.
And Alex.
Present.
All right. That's good. Everyone's present. Today, our topic is a little bit ADD. We decided to do something we're calling it trending in 10, right? Is that right, Alex? I think you coined that term.
Yeah,
trending
I'm sure.
in 10. Anyways.
No one's ever done it before.
So it's pretty much what we're going to do is everybody gets a soapbox for 10 minutes. I mean, it's going to be a group discussion, but everybody gets their own subject that they want to talk about for roughly 10 minutes, or actually exactly 10 minutes.
No roughness. We're going cutting people off right at 10.
My
Siri's going to make sure.
Yeah, my handy assistant Siri will alert us when the 10 minutes is up. And I just, I think we don't wait any longer. We don't delay. We just jump in, right? And I'm going to be selfish and start because I have...
Do you stop mid-sentence if it goes off, like...
Yeah, we just move on, and we'll just go in a circle.
Okay. So
wow.
No grace, like you're done.
Okay.
Zero.
When it goes off.
We believe in grace, but for the sake of this...
No grace.
Yeah,
wow.
we're just on to the
I didn't
next
realize
person.
it was going to be that brutal. I like that you're laying down the law right now.
I think we should.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to get legalistic up
I'm just going
to
to get done in 5 minutes, and then we'll sit in silence for the other 5. So that way
That is going to be awkward.
My point would be made.
And maybe our listener needs that. Maybe
yeah.
they need just 5 minutes
of just silence.
To process what we just discussed.
Maybe that's part of their personality.
So if that happens, it's a gift to you.
All right. I'm going to start my timer. All right. Set a timer for 10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes and counting.
All right, great.
All right.
Here I go, 10 minutes. Thanks, Siri. I'm going to talk about spiritual warfare. Okay. So there is a spiritual battle going out there in this world that we, sometimes you don't see it. It doesn't surface itself in a physical realm, but over the past few months, it definitely has. Mm-hmm. And this one's dealing with a false prophet. And specifically what I'm talking about is the rise of Popeye's chicken sandwich.
Wow.
It's out there spreading lies and trying to even popularize the idea of being open on Sunday.
Yeah.
So you're all familiar with Chick-fil-A and their chicken sandwich, something that's been blessed and is pure and delicious.
Very much so.
Anointed chicken.
But then you've got this Popeyes coming out there, and how long ago was it? About a month when they first launched or maybe a little longer.
It was definitely September.
Yeah.
August, September.
So they launched their chicken sandwich. It's popular. It sells out immediately, which is crazy. Like, that's unheard of at Chick-fil-A. They don't sell out of chicken sandwiches. And then it just kind of goes off the menu.
For like a month.
It's just gone. And then they announced it's coming back on Sunday, which was just this past Sunday. And this is a confession I'm making now, and I would like you to keep me in your prayers. But I went ahead and I bought a chicken sandwich for every person in my family for Sunday dinner. And I got the spicy one. And I will admit it tasted fine. The flavor was there, Mm-hmm. I would say that it was spicy. The pickle was a little, I don't know. It was like homemade pickle, but maybe sliced a hair too thick, and that's maybe a down. But the real problem I had with it was that the chicken was kind of rubbery. Have you ever bitten into a tire or something and it was just like not pleasant to chew?
Yeah, I do that
occasionally.
On the day.
Yeah,
daily.
so it's kind of like that. The chicken was very rubbery and not great texture. So I give it a 6 out of 10 on my food scale. Chick-fil-A still reigns supreme there. But when I talk about spiritual warfare and false prophets, Popeyes has now kind of there's rumors that they're going to start putting on their signs open Sunday, in contrast to Chick-fil-A's closed Sunday. But there's this one story that kind of rose to the top out of all of this, and it's a football player, and I'm not a big sports person, so help me with.
Oh yeah, he wore the cleats.
The Texans star, Deshaun Watson is his name.
Deshaun Watson. He's on my fantasy football team.
All right,
help win this week.
All right, I'm glad. So this article comes from Relevant. And the headline pretty much says that Deshaun Watson says Popeye's chicken sandwiches healed his injured eyeball.
Oh my!
Wow.
Gosh.
And this is what he's claiming. There's a quote in this article that says, "I'll tell you the key. The key, it was the Popeye spicy chicken sandwiches that I ate this week that helped the eye." So
okay, so this isn't that's not the guy that wore the Popeyes.
Oh no, I don't think so.
So
this
lots
is
of NFL.
Yeah,
Popeyes.
this is specifically now. And Deshaun's been outspoken about his faith and how he's baptized, I think, in the Holy Land and all that.
This summer.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I'm a little concerned though now because he's out here proclaiming that Popeyes healed his eyeball. That I guess he sustained an eyeball injury in a previous game, and then he spent the whole week eating Popeye's chicken sandwiches, and now he's claiming that
The whole week?
Well, he said he said plural, so it sounds like he ate multiple sandwiches over the week, and supposedly it healed his eye. I don't know how everybody feels about this. It feels a little bit blasphemous. I think if any chicken sandwich is going to heal an eyeball, that's going to be a Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Well, I have a question about your own experience. Do you think that was just like a bad piece of chicken you got, or is this like typical every time you've been to Popeyes, that's your experience?
See, I've had good Popeyes before, so I don't know if they overcooked the chicken, or if the chicken maybe got like freezer burnt or like something strange. I did the whole experience about that. Going to the Popeyes for a chicken sandwich just felt, I don't know, maybe it was the location I was at, but it felt like they were stressed out, like all because there's a long line, and the young lady working the drive-through window was very stressed out and not very, friendly, and
Did she say anything like when you said thanks?
No, she did not say my pleasure, and that was a telltale
Nothing
sign
like that at all.
that I was in a dark place. I was in an unsafe place. And so yeah, the whole experience all around, it didn't feel right. So
first it was on Sunday.
Yeah,
definitely didn't feel
Which
right.
you went there on Sunday.
Yeah,
Let's
I
clear
know.
this up.
That's actually true. So
Didn't even wait till Monday.
and I can say right now, I can state it honestly, that sandwich healed me of nothing. I'd like to make that clear.
Yeah. Well, thank you for clearing that up. And I think you've loved Kanye too, and so it almost isn't just like you're cheating on Chick-fil-A, but it's almost like you're not being faithful to Kanye, in the middle of his resurgence and maybe some non-false prophecy, where actually Jesus, the spirits healed him.
Mm-hmm. Closed on Sunday.
Yeah, closed on Sunday. His track.
Yeah.
Hit that up if you haven't yet.
Yeah, that album. Not to go on a tangent here, but it debuted #1, just so everyone's. It's his 9th album to debut #1. Yeah, so I think it's interesting with the chicken sandwich battle. Do you think I obviously if the sarcasm and the irony is lost on you, I'm obviously being sarcastic about some of this, but like, do you think people are taking some of this like really seriously, or is it all just in good fun? We're all just having a good time, laughing about chicken sandwiches. Or are there like actual Christians and non-Christians alike, like thinking like this is actually a battle and a hill I'm willing to die on?
It's almost become like a religious battle too, like because Chick-fil-A is like the Christians' like restaurant because they're closed on Sunday, and so how dare any other restaurant come against them and take a jab at their Sunday, closure? It's kind of crazy how intense it can get. And we've been hearing about all these stories of people beating each other up about these sandwiches.
Someone got stabbed yesterday,
What
I
in
think,
the
at a
world?
Chick-fil-A.
Wow.
Yeah.
People are
or at
crazy.
at a Popeyes. Sorry. Ooh. So, not a Chick-fil-A.
I have heard several Christians rate that sandwich a 10 out of 10. And so
Yeah, I have too.
what do we make of that?
They need to read their Bible more.
I will say I did try the chicken sandwich, and the chicken that I had was actually really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think I could see the potential there.
Yeah.
Because the one thing is their breading stayed crispy, where like a Chick-fil-A sandwich, you kind of just know the breading's going to be a softer breading.
But
like
I think I like that
mouthfeel.
better.
So I kind of like the crisp of it, but when I got to that part of the chicken that was like weirdly cooked or prepared wrong, that's what threw me off. So really what I've come to the conclusion of is I have to go back to Popeyes now and try another chicken sandwich.
Good a fair trial.
Just to make sure.
Yeah, both at the same time. I think you have to have both in hand.
But I think Jesus would have been okay with that because he would go into the places where, the sinners were, right? And that's so I can justify going back to Popeyes and eating a chicken sandwich, right, Alex?
I think so. I think you have my permission.
Okay.
You have my blessing to do that. If that's what you're looking for.
Thank you.
I think one of the things about the whole Popeyes thing too that really I've come to notice about places with extra breading is sometimes they're hiding less meat under there.
Oh yeah.
So sometimes what you do is, you've got the little piece of meat, but you've just got so much breading and then it takes up and makes it look bigger.
Yeah.
And I think let's be honest, really Chick-fil-A sparked all this because Popeyes came out with their chicken sandwich, and then I think it was a tweet by Chick-fil-A kind of calling it out, the original chicken sandwich. So it was more of like a subtweet,
Yeah, right.
And then everyone's like, oh my goodness. And now there's been this battle, and really Chick-fil-A established this, and Popeyes, rightfully so, is trying to milk it for all they can. They ran out of chicken sandwiches. I don't think they even believed that it would be as successful as it was.
Yeah, they didn't believe in
Chick-fil-A
themselves.
Made it successful by subtweeting them, which also was a brilliant move for Chick-fil-A because people, wanted to have their backs and all that kind of stuff.
Maybe like the Truitt family bought some stock in Popeyes before they put that tweet out there.
It'd be brilliant.
And then they're like, hey, let's make a return on this now.
I just don't see it being sustainable.
I'm sorry, what?
You're done.
Done.
That bird chirping means one thing, and that's that my 10 minutes is up.
Isn't that a cricket?
A cricket. Did I say bird?
You did.
I meant to say cricket. That's obviously a cricket. I know animals and insects. Don't judge me. All right, Rachel, you're next on the agenda here.
What's trending in your life?
So should I does she want to announce it after I start the timer?
I think she can announce it, and then we'll start the timer.
Well, I'll be honest. I'm not going to talk as much about my topic as Eric did about his. I want to hear your opinions. So,
okay.
Shots fired.
Hey, Alex took up my last 2 minutes. Okay, so it's fine.
One thing that I want to talk about is CBD oil.
And the timer has started.
Yeah. So I guess maybe like quite a few months ago, me and my husband were driving around town, and we start seeing these signs popping up everywhere. Like, we have CBD oil. We sell CBD oil. And then like 2 months later, there's like legit buildings that are selling CBD oil, and like it's like becoming a business. And we're like, what is happening? Because we realized that CBD, is cannabis, so it's coming.
Oh, I thought it was like Council Bluffs district.
What is happening? And so it's just been this thing that's been on my mind. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like, this is, we talk about, we know what marijuana is, and like it's illegal and all this stuff, and they're trying to have it as a medical thing, but CBD oil is a whole new thing that's coming out, and there's stores selling it, and I don't know, just trying to figure out, like, my friends are using it, and like people are going and buying it, and like, what's going on? I thought this was a bad thing, like, and so I just thought it'd be a good topic to kind of hear what you guys think about it.
So when you're like essential oils MLM friend invites you over to a party, and then they're like passing around CBD oil. Are you?
Yeah, are they
should you be
start
convicted?
selling?
Is this a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what's my opinion on this.
I don't think that essential oils people are probably
I heard they are getting into CBD.
Are they?
Yep.
Really?
I could see
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, anytime there's money. So I read that this is like become a $1 billion industry, and it's projected over the next couple of years to multiply by 700, grow by 700%.
Yeah.
And so anytime there's money involved in something, everybody jumps on the bandwagon as fast as they can. like fidget spinners, or think of anything that's become popularized. Everybody starts making it, and everybody wants to start, taking some of that piece of the pie, which I think leads to some of the problem, maybe, because I think there is probably some legitimacy to this brilliant idea. Like, there's this thing called Charlotte's Web, where this girl in 2006, I believe, sometime around there.
Oh, she had a pet pig.
No. Oh. There was a girl.
That's what I was thinking about.
That she was having seizures, like 300 seizures a week, and then she was in Colorado. Marijuana was legalized there. Someone put oil, extracted the CBD oil, which is a different part of the cannabis plant than THC, which is what gets people high. And so she took it and started being healed better than Popeyes of these seizures. And now, so it wasn't 2006 because now she's 11, I think, or something like that. But she's having maybe 2 seizures a week. And so there's healing properties for this kind of thing. And so I think they've found some of that happening. And then maybe the problem is there's probably definitely healing properties or things that help. My bigger concern is wading through all of it, because there's dog treats now. They're anything,
there's
literally
deodorant.
Literally anything that you can allegedly say CBD oil is in, people are saying that it's in, and you don't know how much. And so that's probably the hardest
I'd like
part.
to announce my product that's about to hit the market. It's a fidget spinner vape rig that you can smoke CBD oil through. It's going to be a hit.
I cannot bless that one.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Well, obviously CBD oil has a different purpose than when people are smoking marijuana.
Right.
It's not getting you high.
Right.
So what's the purpose of it?
Right.
I mean, healing.
Yeah, and that's the other thing,
deodorants
is
and
I've
stuff.
been doing looking stuff up. There's not research behind this. Like you were saying, it is a business move. It's this new thing and there is some research, but there's really not a lot of research behind this oil and what it does and how it interacts with us and our bodies and stuff. And so that's the other thing, is just being aware that there's really not a lot of scientific research behind this thing. But also, I think the other thing is I think you immediately get judgmental almost when you hear that other people are well, that's marijuana. People just don't know about things but they just assume, oh, it's marijuana, so you're using marijuana, and then they just get judgmental. And it's okay, do your research, figure out what you're talking about before you start judging people who are doing different things. And I think the other thing I was thinking about is for Christians, it can be easy to be well, it's legal, so we can use it. And then it's okay, so are you making your standards off of if it's legal or not, then we can do it, kind of thing. And that's kind of brought up an interesting,
which is kind of what's made it weird, because in 2018, the end of 2018, President Trump signed this national thing where farmers could grow CBD oil, but not every state's on board. So technically, because I wanted to make sure I represented this right, Doug Peterson,
Nebraska.
our Nebraska State Attorney General, has been asked about it to clarify, and he says it's illegal. Because I don't think they've gone. There's processes and jurisdictions where they're talking about it, and it's one of those things you're probably not going to get pulled over for, and there's gray area because there's this national legalized part of it, but then a state saying it's not legal because it's still part of the whole marijuana plant and part of the drug, and we don't know enough about it. And so from that side of things, there's this weird gray area because you see it popping up everywhere, yet you're it's illegal, yet no one's enforcing it. What is going on? And it leaves the consumer confused.
Yeah.
Our local Family Video, yes, we still rent movies.
yes.
We went there, and obviously I think I'm not going to speak for them, but it seems like they were kind of struggling financially, and so they
I couldn't imagine why.
Yeah, so they started selling cell phones, which was a very odd thing. Nobody's going
Burners?
to family, something like that.
Yeah.
No one's going there. I wouldn't think to buy that, but obviously that didn't last very long, and so then they got rid of that, and then they brought in CBD oil. So when you get to the counter to rent your movie, it says CBD oil right here. It's not even behind the counter. It's just right there in front of you. And so I will admit that I have been sketched out by that. I'm that's kind of weird. Especially if, again, family video. It's a very strange place.
Right. It's just like any other trend. It's kind of like people just, it's like you see it everywhere. So you're like, oh, I need to get it. Like I must have it. Like I must try it. Like all this stuff. But it's like, are we even like realizing what we're doing? We're just like jumping on boards with all these trends and we don't even know like what it is or what it's doing to us. And I mean, I went to TJ Maxx and it's like already in all these different like hair products and deodorants and lotions. And I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah. It's like when Angus was a big deal. Remember that? Like everything had Angus beef in it. And I'm just like, it's not even like that good of a beef, but it's just like a catchphrase. You go to Burger King and get Angus beef. Like, okay, cool. So get your CBD pancakes or whatever at IHOP coming this fall. Like I think it's weird.
Is this a thing or no?
I'm just an idea machine. I'm just trying to throw out some things and see where they stick. But it's weird because I think when you start to deal with the legalities of it is where it's like interesting, and even with like I think a Christian perspective on like alcohol, we've talked about that a little bit before, where it's like, okay, in moderation, it's probably okay, it's legal, and so like I think that brings in like when in states like California and Denver or Colorado, that's not a state, Denver's a city, Colorado. Where, you know, marijuana is legal, then that kind of also brings up this question like, well, then is that okay in moderation for a Christian to do that? Because it's as the state looks at it as a legal thing. Like, I don't know. It's just a lot of gray areas.
Yeah, I think one of the hard things for me is like if you're desperate, you know, if you've tried everything else and there's some glimmer of hope in something like a CBD oil, which is kind of where it started with this girl, that then you're going to try almost anything to find heal, especially like if you're a parent, you know, and and it is legal for them. You're going to find almost anything to provide some kind of healing. And there's people that do that with all sorts of wholesome things. Like I know one person that I know has stopped taking their anxiety medicine and started using CBD oil, and they've said it's helped. I know someone who has arthritis and they've got a lotion with it and they've said it's helped. And so, but I think that also brings up the power of the mind and placebo and things like that, that you never know about when your mind is so powerful that you can convince yourself of a positive result. And sometimes that actually helps. And so for me, I'm like, man, if I'm desperate and it's actually like a healing thing, like we've tried all the sorts of oils, essential oils in our family to like cure everything, and have tried to be faithful to it and haven't seen great results like everybody swear about, but you're like, I'm going to try because I don't like to see my kids suffer. And so that's the hard part is there's passion and there's some science, not a lot of science. People can put microscopic amounts and say it is. You don't know how much you actually need to ingest, all that.
All right. Well, the problem is you haven't mixed the right amount of lavender with spearmint.
And thieves.
Well, in reality, it is a plant. So then it's almost like you kind of have to think from that aspect, like, did God give us this plant as a way, like a tool?
It's like, hey, dummies, it's growing in the ground.
Right.
What
exactly.
are you doing? I don't know. It's I don't know if that's the question we're going to answer.
That's getting down another trail. But
oh, look at that. What good timing you had there.
There's
the
by
cricket
the
again.
cricket.
Saved by the cricket. A bunch of wacky teens get into hijinks at their high school in the new sitcom Saved by the Cricket. Sorry.
All your ideas there.
I know, I'm just full of them.
Wow.
I think we're going to go with Mackenzie.
Yes.
I didn't forget your name. There's
I forgive you.
I'm sorry.
Clearly did.
My brain was I'm thinking up sitcom ideas right now. All right. So do you want to reveal now?
Yes. I don't think we've talked about this in depth yet. Maybe we've covered it briefly, but we're going to talk about the Enneagram.
Enneagram.
Oh,
10
the
minutes.
Christian horoscope.
Yes.
Oh no.
Are we started?
Yes.
Okay.
You've already lost 5 seconds.
The Enneagram, however you say it. I feel like I say it wrong. But this has been a thing that has actually been around for a very long time, but in the evangelical world, it's fairly recent. I feel like here at the church, we talk about it all the time, so maybe we feel like we've very much talked about this topic already, but I still find that people are discovering it all the time. So I thought it would be great to talk about As I was looking up the history of the Enneagram, you find out that's kind of why people aren't so sure if it's a good thing or not. The Enneagram, I guess if you don't know, is a personality test where there are 9 personalities, and it actually means 9 point. So there's 9 points that you can fall into, and each personality kind of reveals the weaknesses in your personality. So the idea is that when you were growing up, you had to find a way to, I don't know, sorry if I'm explaining this terribly, but you had to find a way to like fit into your family and fit into the world. And so the personality that you've developed is kind of a response to your childhood. And so, yes. So this actually, the idea of the Enneagram has been around. They don't know how long. It seems like some people think 4,000 years, but not until the 50s and 60s did they start associating this idea of the Enneagram with personalities. So the personality part of it is actually fairly recent. And so this actually became a big deal in more of like the Catholic world in the late 90s. And that's when the Enneagram kind of like picked up and people were all about it. And the Enneagram Institute came to be, which made it a lot more accessible for people. I read a statement from the Catholic Church in the year 2000, which cracked me up because that was a long time ago.
Y2K.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Responding to the Enneagram and if they thought it was good or not. Because obviously we've heard about this, I think, in our own church. Is this something we should be using? Is it a good tool? Is it kind of messed up how it came about? The reason people are not so sure about the Enneagram is because back in the 50s and 60s when it was more associated with personalities, and I think actually even before that, the roots of the Enneagram are kind of wrapped up in some spiritual things that are not in line with Christianity. So some guy, I read that he took some drugs and had a spiritual experience.
CBD?
No, actually, different drugs. But had a spiritual experience with an angelic being, he would say, and received some supernatural knowledge about the Enneagram and how it functions.
Was it on gold plates buried in the woods?
No.
Oh, okay. Wrong story.
Different guy.
Okay.
But people would say that the Enneagram is numerology. And so the Catholic Church, pulling this background, when they responded, they said that they didn't think that the Enneagram was in line with the Christian faith. And that was because of, they believe it's numerology and that they say it finds no support in either modern science or of nature or Christian teaching. And also that to believe in it kind of falls into superstition because we're believing that our personalities can fit into this personality test, right? And also, yes, just the whole idea of the numbers and the numerology kind of sketched out by that.
So what are you?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I want to know what everyone's Enneagram is. Let's
Well,
be
hang
real.
on. I'm not done with the Catholic statement.
sorry.
I just want to finish that really quick.
Sure.
They also say that sin becomes something that is in part inevitable. And so when we look at our personalities, we're like, oh, this is my number. This is my biggest weakness. It's not something that I really have to be responsible for. It's just something I developed in my childhood.
Right.
And so they would say because of all of that, we're obsessed with it, but it's not really in line with our Christian teachings.
That was helpful. I've never heard any of that stuff before, so that was
Yeah, I
helpful.
actually hadn't either.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So back to your question.
What number are you?
Me?
Yep.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Technically, you're not supposed to ask people what their
Yes.
numbers are.
Thank you, Rachel.
What number are you?
I think everybody should go around and say their numbers because there's no way you don't know your number by now.
Yeah, I'm a 3-wing too.
Okay.
No one asked me, so I guess I can
Sounds
say
like a
it.
hockey
Yeah.
position.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a 6-wing 5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I am a 1-wing 8.
My wife is a
Nice.
1. So
I took the test. I don't remember what I am. I
did not
absolutely hate being put in a box, and I'm sure someone's going to say, "Well, that means you're a 4-wing 22." I don't know. Then so that's great. I'm glad you put me in a box. I think that these things. This isn't my opinion. I think they're bad for people. And I think the reason they're bad is because we're so desperate for someone to tell us who we are because we don't want to do the work to find out who our own identity is. And it's so scary to do that and to just be ourselves that anything that can reinforce something it's just we're desperate to cling to it. And and humans love patterns. We love like the Bible code and like all these things that we dive into, and we make a reality because we love to seek out patterns. It's just in human nature to like find patterns and try to put meaning behind those patterns. And so this is just another way that I think we do that. And it can be fun, but to me, it shouldn't be more important than like a BuzzFeed personality test. Like I think, yes, maybe it can help you identify certain characteristics and like, oh, maybe I should work on this. But if it's just like, this is who you are, and then you read that and go, yeah, that's me, and you're so proud of that, and then that's just defines your identity for the rest of your life, like that's, to me, like there's no room for growth. There's no room to challenge yourself. There's no room for change. And like that's not, I mean, I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world, but it's just, I don't know that it's always very healthy.
Yeah, I think I'm always tempted to be like, oh, this is just dumb. Like, we shouldn't talk about this. We shouldn't identify as this. It's just excuses. But then I'll like turn around and I'll be like, oh yes, but I do this and I see that in myself. That must be the 6 in me. So I totally like go back and forth. I'm like, oh, I hate the Enneagram. And then I'm like, I'm a 6.
Yeah.
Well,
I was pretty skeptical of it when it first came out, like when I first heard of it, and I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, my identity is not in my number, it's in Christ, typical.
Amen.
But I do think I realized, because we started to get into it a lot, like through the residency program, we go through a course that teaches about it in one of our classes, and we go through it and have to figure out our number and kind of go through all that. And I realized there was like a 3 or 4 month process where I was like so into like figuring out my number, figuring out my like what number I was and what that meant for me. I spent more time on that than like reading the Bible, and I was like, oh, that's probably not good. So I think when people are starting to like idolize it as like the way to your true identity in Christ, that's when it goes really south, because it's like, okay, if we're looking more to that and what our number is than to Jesus and who he is and like who we should be in Christ, then that's really not okay. So I kind of get a little more skeptical of it, because I'm like, everything we need is in the Bible. So when we're going to these extra resources, not that they're bad, but when you kind of idolize them above what we already have, it gets a little sketchy.
But they can be helpful, because like, so say I'm working with somebody on a project and all of a sudden they turn into this like crazy angry person. This happened to me this summer, and I started kind of thinking through it and thinking, okay, I know kind of where their personality falls, and per this test, their personality, when they get stressed out, they kind of turn into this other personality. And granted, this is all like speculation and stuff, but I saw it, and it helped me to say like, okay, this person is not just really mean, but this person is stressed out. And it enabled me kind of to give them a little bit of grace in that.
And one thing I was going to say that I've heard people talk about, how for the Enneagram, a lot of it is your weaknesses and your faults. So when we call people out and say, oh, that they're just a 6, we're calling out people's weaknesses. Like, we're just like looking at them and being like, oh, well, they're a 4, so they did that. And it's just like not encouraging. It's like you're just looking at people and seeing their weaknesses.
That's true.
Yeah, yes. I think it can be a helpful tool, just like Myers-Briggs, all those kind of things, to help you know a little bit more about your tendencies, help people you're leading know more about their tendencies, know about your weak points, like Mackenzie's saying, know about the things that that maybe are points that draw you towards sin or bad parts of your personality. But I also think, like, my kids are 6 or 7 now and under. Like,
that's their Enneagram?
Yeah, no, their age. So I'm not gonna run their, like, box them into this personality and try to have them take this now and not any of that. I think, to Rachel's point, if you know what your Enneagram number is, but you have no clue what your spiritual gift is, and you're a Christian, that's a problem. Like, I'll just say that out loud. If you're operating more out of your identity in your Enneagram than you are out of your spiritual identity and your spiritual giftings, then it's probably a problem, and it's probably a thing that I've seen more with the rise of the Enneagram in the church, is people operating and identifying in that rather than their spiritual gift, the thing that is bigger than all of us, that's uniquely wired. And so maybe start to study those in tandem and see maybe there are some points of emphasis that are good inside of that. So that's what I would say.
Oh, perfect timing.
All done. All right. So this means it's your turn, Alex.
Here I am.
Rock me like a hurricane. Is there anything you want to get off your chest today, Alex? Is there something that's really really burdening you that you'd like to share with the group?
It was hard to figure out something, but I was looking at trending things on Twitter, and I saw gender reveal parties. Okay,
And your timer starts now.
in Iowa last week, a lady got killed
In Iowa.
by shooting. You know, the gender reveals have just gone wild, and so
They're just blowing things up now.
They're blowing things up. There's cake. There's all those kind of things, and
Starting
so
forest fires.
probably
That happened.
that everything that's wrong with the world has now been linked to the gender reveal parties. No, but then I was reading the lady who basically popularized this idea, and I'm sure they've happened for decades and centuries, but the lady that popularized it, and obviously social media, all that kind of stuff has thrown fuel on the fire. She had a lot of miscarriages, and then they finally got pregnant, and she's like, we'd like to have a cake for everything. And so they had a cake, did her gender reveal party, and now she's like, I wish I would have never been the one that started this. Obviously, people are dying over it. People are making this such a big deal, and their lives being revolved around their gender, which I think is vitally important to a human being, and how God wired them and all that kind of stuff, but they're almost elevating it and writing a script for someone's life, kind of maybe like the Enneagram, based on this gender reveal, you know, that happens in a party and making it a big deal. And so I think there's probably some innocent parts of it, but some chaos. Personally, you know, my wife and I have 4 kids. Our first, we didn't even find out the gender until he was born. Second, we did find out the gender earlier than birth. We found out the gender on all of them eventually, but the third,
That's good.
we didn't find out our daughter Lydia until birth, and then our last Hannah we found out
Via cake.
early.
No.
But we never did a
Okay.
gender reveal party. We did for our last daughter have someone fill balloons and just have our kids pop it so they could find out, you know, what it was together, but we never had any kind of party, no people over.
Popping balloons is a gateway to blowing things up.
Yes.
So just
So no
warning you.
one was injured or killed. But yeah, I'm just curious, like, I think if Lord willing, I'm done having kids, so I'm not going to have to make this decision for myself anymore. Not that I hate kids, but I just am happy with where we're at right now. And what are you guys' thoughts?
I will just.
Did you
I
do
just-
gender reveal parties, Eric?
No. That sounded dismissive, didn't it? Sorry.
No.
My kids are 8 and 10 now. It wasn't really a thing when you know we were pregnant, but I have witnessed it, and I think my favorite part of it is I look at both of the spouses, like the happy married couple, and I just look, like, once it's pink or blue, I just look for the disappointment in one of their faces. Like,
Oh
it's
my
so
goodness.
mean, but it's so much
Yeah.
there, and it's
Yeah.
like it's hard to like not see it sometimes. I mean, I'm sure like you're always happy for whatever you have, but like, you know, it's kind of like a lot of times the mom's hoping for a girl or the dad's hoping for a boy, and it's pink, and you see the dad's countenance just drop, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry.
That's really sad.
But I just think all that stuff's documented, and then you just imagine your kid watching this and then seeing
wow.
dad's face go like somber
Childhood
after
trauma.
it's a girl or something. I don't know. That stuff is weird to me, and it's hard. Yeah, I think when you're having a kid and I mean, in today's culture, I think there's a lot of pushback on that in general, just to be like, well, you should let the child decide its gender and
Yeah.
wait for it to be born, and like then we can, you know, decide it. Don't apply pink or blue to it this early on, and so we're not here to get into that. But I don't know. I don't know if I think I'm done with the children thing too. At this point, but I don't know that we would do that. I don't know. It's just, it seems like a cool trend, I guess, but now people are dying because of it. Like, what in the world? I don't want to like make it sensationalized.
Yeah, not everybody's
everybody's dying
but-
from gender reveal party.
One person
People are eating
must
the
die.
cake and
Yeah.
being poisoned.
This ink is poison. No, but
I kind of think it's almost like every other life event that we have seen grow in like popularity, like engagements, weddings,
Promposals.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all these little life events have just been growing and growing, and like your engagement has to be the biggest, best, most beautiful engagement you've ever seen. There has to be a video and drone going over you, and the sun is setting. You know, it's like we are like idolizing these moments and have to make them these perfect things, and I think it almost takes away from what the moment actually is, especially like for engagements and stuff like that. It's like you're so focused on the day and the event that you don't even like think about what the moment really is. It's just so funny because like I think about my parents and my husband's parents, and like my husband's parents got engaged in a Red Lobster. Like sitting at dinner in a Red Lobster.
High class eating. That's fine dining.
Yeah, but it's just like it wasn't like this big ordeal, and like it was like a conversation between two people deciding like, you know what, we want to spend the rest of our lives together. I don't know. It's just very interesting how it's just escalated, and I think that's come along with social media, just escalating things. It's like we have to show these incredible things on social media, and so I don't know. I just think that there's more behind that than just we want to reveal the baby's gender. I think there's a lot more behind it, but I don't know.
Status thing, kind of.
Yeah.
Sweet 16 and everything else. Yeah.
Like, can we do the coolest reveal? And I don't know, but I don't know what I'm gonna do. I actually want to just wait until we have our baby and see what gender it is, and I think that's a fun surprise. But
yeah, I will say, we kind of grew we had I did a video announcement for one kid and posted on the internet. Like I illustrated a book for our last kid, for my oldest kid who was learning to read that, like when we announced to just our family or our immediate family that we're having another baby and things like that. And so those were fun, like magic moments together, but they weren't, I guess, on the internet. We didn't invite a bunch of people over.
Yeah.
You can spend so much money. Like I think that's with the wedding. Like you can spend so much money on a party that is for something sacred and not really setting you up a ton for marriage, you know? And I think that's always the catch-22 is how much money and time and energy are we putting into something that isn't really getting us ahead, I guess.
Especially if you're not living within your means. Like if you're doing this and it is causing you to go into debt to have a gender reveal party, like that might be a problem.
Yeah. But I also see like it's cool because we're starting to celebrate different things. Like we're celebrating these different life events, and like I don't know, it's kind of cool too to see this like joy and celebration of different things. And
yeah.
I'm the person that I struggle with even opening Christmas presents in front of people because my emotional reactions are not what people want them to be.
Yeah, seriously, me too.
And so when it comes to that, I just have anxiety thinking about finding out the gender of your baby in front of all these people.
Right.
Like one, I want that to be a very personal, intimate moment between like me and my husband. And two, I worry that I would be that person that, like, regardless of if it's a girl or a boy, just disappointment. Like, and it's not even authentic. It's just my face. My face is not authentic. Oh man!
I'm sure there's an Enneagram number for that. Inauthentic face.
Not what you're feeling. Yeah, and of course, money plays into this too. Like, people can make money off of it. You can make party favors, do all this kind of stuff based on something. So if there's a slice of the pie to be gotten, then people will sell gender reveal party supplies, CBD oil, and movies all at one thing because they're trying to stay afloat. And if there's money involved, then that's kind of the machine. It's the root of all kinds of evil. And so I think that's a big part of those kind of things. So,
all right, real quick while we're still on this topic, can we come up with the greatest gender reveal idea ever? Like, what's the best thing you could do?
I think the timer's going to run out, but
you better hurry. We got 90 seconds.
Share one that I've seen.
Goodness.
No, it's got to be original.
Okay. You're the one with the great ideas.
I don't have any good ones today.
Maybe
you dye the chicken a color, and then when you bite into your chicken sandwich at Popeyes, it's pink or blue. Pink chicken would be raw. Congratulations on salmonella.
And mix your mayo with CBD oil.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm so confused of where this is headed. Okay.
So that no matter, you don't feel anxious. So she wouldn't feel anxious.
Oh, yeah, she would just have no facial
chicken
expression.
This is
a bad. Okay, just share the one that you saw. That was
at their
good.
wedding reception, they had fireworks in the color of their baby's gender.
At their wedding reception.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
It was a big celebration.
Wait,
all things.
Did they know before, or was that this celebration just to let people out, like other people know.
They didn't know. It was like a surprise for everyone at their wedding.
That's too much emotion.
I know. I would be way over.
Their parents are like, I'm so disappointed.
I would be so overwhelmed.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say that's not like our paramount example.
But no one died.
Okay, well then.
I feel like you need to jump out of a helicopter with like a banner.
A parachute. Your parachute is either
color.
blue
Yeah,
or pink.
yes.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's
and you
cool.
don't know you're trying to look.
I feel like that's been done. We'll have to look that up. That's
Probably.
You pull your chute too early, probably too, and you'd be up there too long because
Yeah.
you're so excited.
You're so excited to see.
Or if you're disappointed.
You're just
That's the
sad
thing.
the
Is like,
whole
But
way
hopefully
down.
you're not doing that if you're pregnant.
Oh,
Yeah.
parachuting? Is that
Yeah.
bad? I never know. Well, there you go. That was the
Time's
end of
up.
that. That was 4 trending topics in about 40 minutes.
Wow.
I'm really proud of all of you.
it's good.
There's a lot of stuff that's going on, and I think it's one of those things where it's fun to talk about, and it can be revealing too, just to go, okay, well, let's see what everybody's take is on this. Hopefully, if you're listening, you took something away from it that you can share with your family. And maybe you've made a decision now whether or not to have a gender reveal party, eat a chicken sandwich, buy CBD oil, or take an Enneagram test.
Have an Enneagram reveal party.
Yeah, there you go. I'm a 6.
Yeah, like you take the test in private, and then later
I feel
on.
like only like a 7 would do that.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, thanks everybody for listening. If you want to get at us on social media, that's at CCC Omaha, and you can also email us at podcasts@cccomaha.org. That's just with podcast. It's not plural. No S. Podcast. At cccomaha.org. We'd love to hear from you. Any feedback, input, questions. I mean, if you have a question you want us to discuss on the show, we'd love to hear that as well. Until next time.
Can I drop a preview of the next one? Next guest?
I don't know. Do you want to tease that? I mean, are you sure?
I think it's and it'll be interesting.
All right.
So we've got a guy coming next week that was part of, and it's actually more tragic. Like he was part of a school shooting in Millard South, years ago, a little over a decade ago. And so he'll be coming to share some of that story, share what he's doing. He was, there during that school shooting, which I remember being in high school ministry, working here and how that rocked our community and how scary that was. And it wasn't long after the Von Mar shooting here in Omaha. And so I think he's going to have a powerful story and some thoughts to share. So I think it'll be worth listening.
All right. Well, tune in for that. Tell all your friends. Also, don't forget to review us if that's on iTunes or wherever you listen to this podcast. An honest review is the best policy, but just give us 5 stars. It's fine. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.